Welcome to Attic Raiders Retro Reviews, where today we're travelling deep into the jungle, hunting for the ancient ruins of Zartak and the Temple of the Oracle. In today's game, CD Adventure, Search for the Lost City. Or at least that's what you might think the game looks like if you go just by listings on eBay. There were lots of times that I scrolled right past this game when I was browsing on eBay because the lead photographs made it look like it was just a CD, but it's not. This is CD Adventure. Now that's more like it. CD Adventure Search for the Lost City was released by Spears Games in 1994, and I suspect it was hoped to be the first in a line of CD Adventure board games, a line which never took off. Spears Games did bring out another game, CD Romance, this time aimed directly at girls using the exact same layout, gimmicks and gameplay mechanisms, but that seems to have been even less of a hit and is much rarer than CD Adventure today. By 1994, VHS-based board games like the ever-popular Atmosphere were on their way out, and DVD-based board games hadn't quite hit the market yet. So Spears Games went looking for a new technological gimmick, and they hit upon the idea of a CD-based board game. Now, just by the fact that there's only a handful of board games today which incorporate CDs as part of the gameplay, you can tell that this gimmick wasn't really the most successful. But it does mean that this game is really rather unique. As far as design goes, this game is really rather nice. The square CD case inspired box is a really nice touch. And the artwork is painted, which is always a plus, and it's really vibrant. It really does evoke that Indiana Jones-esque Saturday morning serial adventure that so many of us really hold dear and love as a theme. And something that I really like is when a game goes into a backstory and produces a really good on-point theme and narrative. And this game has got it in bucketfuls. Everywhere you look, there is backstory. Particularly on the insert in the actual CD case, there is lots of narrative there, and it really is worth taking the time to pause and have a read of those. So we've got a story, we've got artwork, we've got nicely sculpted playing pieces, we've got a CD as a gimmick, we've got fortune teller as a gimmick, and we've got dangers untold to overcome. So is this game as good as it sounds? Let's find out. The CD has got 77 tracks on it, each one roughly about a minute, featuring music and sound effects as well as voices. We've got quite a bit of cardboard components in this game, mainly coins and adventurer equipment, and these are really nice and thick and sturdy. We've got our adventurer playing pieces here in gold, silver, black and white, and they obviously decided that despite this being a jungle adventure game in search of a city and lost treasure, that Indiana Jones was too much of a cliche in order to base their playing pieces on. So instead, they've decided to rip off Rambo. You can see he's got his combat boots, cargo trousers, low-cut vest, bandolier of bullets, and even the headband, so there is no doubt who this character is actually based on. But they are really nice sculpts, and these are really nice pieces. And we have the all-knowing mystic oracle, which comes in two parts that push together. And this is a really nice gimmick, a nice piece to have on the board, and it's, apart from the player tokens, the only other three-dimensional piece on there. Now this has a freely rotating wheel which has different colours of eyes printed on it, and there is a pathway for a ball which splits into two directions. The ball can either come out here next to this sticker that says no, or it can come out here next to this sticker that says yes. And this is how the oracle answers questions. So we take the ball bearing which is provided and we drop it in, and that will change the colour of the eye and it will give an answer. In this case, yes. This is a really nice touch. The only thing is, it is very, very simplified with just stickers and flat surfaces. I would much rather that they had really put some sculpting effort into this and produced something more like what is seen in Curse of the Idol. However, I suspect that the reason why this has been so simplified is so that it could be used in different games. In fact, cast in a different colour of plastic with different stickers on it, this has been reused by Spears in CD Romance. And I suspect if the CD Adventure line had taken off, they would have used this with new stickers in lots of other games. The game board itself is really, really heavy and sturdy and thick and really nice quality. It's got a half fold here, so when you open it up, you have then got the full board, and you can see the artwork on this is really, really nice. For an adventure themed game going into the jungle, this is absolutely spot on. Of course, any adventurer worth their salt is going to have to overcome deadly obstacles before they can claim their treasure. And CD Adventure is no exception. The board here is absolutely jam-packed with perils. We've got the waterfalls here, which are teeming with deadly piranha. The rickety rope bridge, which could collapse at any moment. The beach that's home to the giant crab. The jungle that's teeming with frightening creatures. The bubbling, smoking volcano at the centre of the island, the village of the flesh-eating zombies, the ancient tribal burial grounds, the lair of the giant spider, the network of bat-infested caves, and finally the lost city of Zartak itself, home to the Temple of the Oracle. Setting up the game is really rather straightforward. Playing pieces begin at the beach in the corner of the board. Red tokens go in the first, third, fifth and seventh spaces after the start. Peril cards get placed on their matching areas on the board. Now this is just a little feature that I really like about this game, the fact that the board artwork is replicated on the back of the cards so that it's almost like the cards are see-through. It's a nice touch and it means that you're not obscuring that lovely artwork. The Oracle goes into the lost city of Zartak. The coloured Oracle cards go into the back of the Oracle. The raft goes into Death River next to the riverside trading post. Each of the trading posts is stocked with a rope, a torch and a machete. Each player is given 3 gold coins. The rest of the gold is stacked next to the Oracle, and the CD Adventure cards go at the side of the board. And finally, the CD goes into your CD player. The object of the game then is to be the first player to move across the island, overcoming all of the obstacles, buying at least 1 item from a trading post and getting into the temple in order to take on the Oracle and hopefully winning the game. This is a roll and move game, so players simply roll the dice and move that many spaces across the board. If at any point you roll a number which means that you are going to land on one of these red counters, then you have got to take one of the CD Adventure cards from the top of the pile, read it out, play the track, and find out what happens.
I am the spirit of adventure. I am Alexander. Where do you think you're going? What do you think you're doing there? I've told you this wasn't going to be easy. You think because you've got this far, it's plain sailing from now on? Well, forget it, my friend. You can't have things that easy. Roll the die twice, and let another player decide if you can move forwards or backwards. That's right. It's time you found out who your real friends are. Choose a player, roll the die twice, and let them decide what you should do next. You think I'm joking, don't you? Well, we'll see.
Sometimes what happens will be beneficial, other times it won't be. Once you've carried out the instructions on the track, you can then move the red token to any other game board space that you choose, as long as it's not a red space or one which already has a red token on it. Of course, these things can really hinder you, so it's a good idea to make sure that you place them behind you and in front of other players, because you really want to try to get them to land on those so that it's going to mess up their game. If you roll a 6 on the dice, you can also choose any red token and move it to another space on the board. Particularly good idea to get rid of the ones which are in front of you and move them somewhere else. If you roll and land on a red space, then you are going to have to take the top card that matches that peril and find out what happens. Again, there will be text on the card and it will direct you to a particular track on the CD. Now, the CD tracks will tell you exactly what you need to do, but in most cases, you're going to have to try to roll a correct number on the die in order to be successful.
See those piranhas down there? Yes, that's right. They'll go crazy when they see a tasty little morsel like you. So, you must roll an even number. If you don't, we'll be seeing you go crashing down the waterfall and resurface at the start of the game.
Or you're going to have to be in possession of the correct piece of equipment, having bought it from a trading post.
There's no way past those ever so cute little snappers, unless of course you fish them out. I'll even help you with this little hook. You have got a rope to go with it, haven't you? Well, haven't you? Oh, pity, because unless you have the rope, you'll go crashing down the waterfall right into all the other piranhas and resurface way back at the start of the game.
Or you're going to have to consult the Oracle.
This is the voice of the Oracle. I am under the control of a force different to your world. I am the judge. I am the jury. And until you have me in your command, I will always be the decider. Can you tiptoe past the waterfall without falling in? Can you? Ask the Oracle. Should the answer I give be no, you will go crashing down the waterfall into the stream full of piranhas and resurface way back from grey rock. Should, however, my answer be yes, then and only then can you move forward away from the danger. Your fate is in my hands. Ask me.
The river, in bitter experience, is the hardest obstacle to get past, whether it's going across the rickety rope bridge or the stepping stones. If you make a mistake on those, on either of them, you're going to get washed down the river and have to restart at the grey stone, basically back at the beginning again. For that reason, it's a good idea to try and avoid these obstacles and instead go to the trading post and then take the raft. The raft is free to use and will take you safely across the river to the other side. However, once it's been used, it is then discarded and it cannot be used by any other player. It's a one-time only thing. At any point during the game, if you decide to travel to a trading post, you can buy any of the pieces of equipment there with 1 gold coin for 1 piece of equipment. You can only buy 1 piece of equipment at a time each time you visit a trading post. And you really are going to need this equipment, whether it's to try and overcome perils or just to buy your way into the temple, because you need 1 piece of equipment in order to get in there. If a player gets to the Oracle but does not have a weapon, then they're going to have to ask the Oracle whether they can move directly to a trading post in order to go and buy one. Now, if the Oracle says yes, then they can move straight there, but they're then going to have to roll as normal in order to get back to the Oracle again. If they get to the temple without a weapon and there's no weapons left at any of the trading posts, then they're going to have to ask the Oracle whether they can buy a weapon from somebody else who's got 3 weapons. If the Oracle says yes, then they can hand over money to that player and take a weapon of their choice. If the Oracle says no, then they're going to have to wait until their next turn to be able to ask again. Now, as well as using gold in order to buy equipment from trading posts, you can also use coins in order to buy another roll of the dice. Now, this might be useful in order to escape out of danger by getting off of a red space, or you might also want to buy another roll in order to improve your odds in a challenge. For example, in a challenge, if you need to roll the dice 3 times in order to meet a target number of 12, if you are unsuccessful at that, you can spend 1 gold coin in order to roll the dice again. That way you might be able to meet that target number on that 4th roll and be successful at overcoming that peril. You can also spend a gold coin in order to buy another chance to ask the Oracle for a decision. If you completely run out of money, then you can move to the nearest trading post and ask the Oracle for another coin. Again, it might say yes or it might say no. If it says yes, then you will get the gold coin. If it says no, then you're going to have to wait till your next turn to ask again. Now eventually a player will get to the lost city of Zartak and into the temple of the Oracle with a weapon. At this point, if you've got more than 1 weapon, you've got to get rid of the other ones. You're only allowed to keep 1 of them. It's then up to you to consult the Oracle and see what it's got in store for you. Depending on what colour its eye changes to, that is which of the coloured cards you should be consulting. So in this case, its eye has turned blue, so you're going to take the blue card and see what it says. Again, there is some text on here and it will direct you to a track on the CD.
Well done. You've got as far as track 60, CD Adventurer. The luck of the Oracle may still be on your side. Now you've chosen the color blue. Let's hope you have the right weapon to enter the inner chamber. So, take a deep breath and keep calm. Oh, sorry about the bats around you. Don't you worry. They're not too hungry for your blood. Quite yet. The short route through to the Oracle's center will need the torch of fire to light the way to the shortest path. Track 66 will lead you that way, should you have the torch. But don't worry, if you've just got a machete or the rope, then although the route is longer and more difficult, you should eventually get there. So, quickly, if you have the rope or machete, go to track 67. Hurry.
You may have everything you need, be lucky and beat the Oracle and come away with the riches, winning the game. However, having battled your way across the entire board, beating all the other players, overcoming the perils, you may still, at this very last point, fail.
So, clever clogs, you had the fire and you're right in front of the red door. But only by obtaining one of the secret numbers will access through the red door to the inner sanctum be granted. With access through the door comes victory. The secret number is 5, and you have 5 chances to roll a 5. If you get there, then a surprise will be revealed at track 78. If you fail the challenge, then you'll be stranded here forever.
And if that happens, the next player whose go it is can move their piece directly to the Oracle from wherever they are on the board and take it on themselves, until eventually somebody will win the game. Or not. At the end of the day, despite all the gimmicks, this really is your bog standard roll and move game. Yes, you can choose different paths on the game board, but all of the game paths are pretty much the same. And in fact, they really are symmetrical. And there's a lot of luck in this game. Obviously, you've got the roll of the dice and you've got whichever cards randomly come up. Not only that, you've got the actual Oracle itself is the quintessential random generator. So if you're not a fan of randomness, if you want strategy in your game, this one is not going to be for you. The actual CD itself that this whole game hinges on is rather a funny beast. You pick a card and that card tells you which track to use. Really, there is absolutely no point in having a CD at all in this other than as a selling point, as a gimmick. The instructions that are on the CD could just as easily have been printed onto the cards to be read out, and you would have done exactly the same thing. The tone that they've taken with the CD is also just a really, really strange one. The sound effects are great, no faulting that. The voice work is... it's different, it's unusual, but the choices that they've made, I really don't get it. If you're drawing a CD adventure card, then sometimes you will be met with Alexander, the spirit of adventure. Now, I have no idea why the spirit of adventure might be called Alexander. It's never explained anywhere, and it's a really weird name for this ghostly spirit. I don't know whether it's some kind of inside joke, but it's definitely something that's never explained. And the constant repetition of CD adventure or CD adventurer really does become quite comical, particularly if you think about it the way it's pronounced as a CD adventure or CD adventurer, which gives a whole new tone to the game. And the fact that there are 70 odd tracks on the CD means that you are going to be constantly flicking back and forth, and depending on your CD player, that's going to take quite a long time, particularly if you do what it says to do and keep going back to track 2 to play the background music, something which you're going to get pretty quickly fed up of and ignore. And of course, depending on the kind of CD player that you're using, your CD player is going to, once it's finished playing the specific track that you've been told to play, it's going to automatically go on to the next track unless you stop it. So you are going to have to constantly be playing, stopping, possibly going back to the music. But again, once the music is finished, it will automatically go on to the next track. So at the end of the 5-minute music segment, you're going to have to stop it and go back to the beginning of that 5-minute segment anyway, before it goes on to the next track. For me though, all of that would be forgivable if it wasn't for the very end game. The end of the game comes down to literally the roll of the dice. You roll the dice and get something that you need, you win the game. You don't get what you need, that's it over. Somebody else can try and you are out of the game. And for me, that's a bit of a deal breaker. Now, of course, it does mean that if somebody is lagging way behind, if somebody has not had much luck with the different obstacles along their way, they can still win the game. So, you know, some people, if they're at the end of a game, will give up if they're the last person and are way behind and think there's not much point to it. In this game, you can win from anywhere. It's not a mechanism that I like, but I do love this theme. Now, this is a game that you can get pretty much all over eBay in the UK anyway. There are lots and lots of copies of this, and it is really rather cheap, normally around about the £10 mark or under. Is it worth picking up? You know what, depending on who your friends are, who you're planning on playing this game with, what kind of state you're likely to be in when you're playing this, when there's alcohol involved. If you're going for that kind of game that you're going to have fun with, then this is a game you can have a real laugh with. Now, if I was playing this straight, I would not particularly like this, but when we were playing it, having a laugh, this game was absolutely hilarious. And as long as you can take it from that light-hearted tone, then this is a rather good game. But it doesn't mean to be in that way. So for me, it is a recommendation, but only just and only if you're happy to live with the caveat of not taking it seriously when you're playing it. It is, however, one of the very few vintage jungle, adventure, lost city, trap, temple, guardian type games that exist. And so for that reason, it's one that I want. But not everybody is quite like me. Until next time, this is Attic Raiders Retro Reviews.